This is the one where we talk about freedom, fuel, and fun, your weekly BLISS 2050 update. Hi, I'm Andreas, your long-term work avoidance planner, and I've always wanted to live an epic life, and now I do. That's why I've created this BLISS 2050 channel. BLISS stands for Brilliant Long-Term Intentional Success Strategies, and I like to talk about the parts of my life that I think really matter, which is freedom, fuel, and fun. Financial freedom is my e-commerce journey. Fuel is how I stay healthy, my carnivore journey. And fun is how I stay happy in life, and that's my hand cycling adventures. I've decided to bring them all into one place on this channel, BLISS 2050, and share all of these things with you. In a nutshell, what's going to happen is you'll have insights into what I'm doing each week in each of these areas. And then you'll be able to follow my journey, stick around, because my dream is that you create your own journey, modeling some of the things I've worked out in my life. I'm going to be doing weekly updates, dropping my videos at the same time each Sunday at 8:50 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time, 2050, just like my channel. I'll be dropping real updates from the road and from life, so you can build your own version of freedom, fuel, and fun. And hopefully we'll have a bloody good time doing it. So let's talk wealth. Not yachts and jets, but maybe one day. What I'm talking about is freedom, the kind where money works harder than you. So over time, you get to buy back your life. Now, like a lot of people, my wealth journey was a haphazard mess of mixed ideas and mixed education. So if you go back to when I was a child, I grew up in relative poverty, and I didn't really understand that there were rules that could increase your possibility of achieving well in life. And so I started at a little bit of a disadvantage in that regard. And over time and many mistakes, I've actually learned enough to put myself in a position where I have enough coming in to live within my means, but not quite enough yet to hit that stratospheric height. And that's part of the journey that I'm on right now. Even though I'm 58, I feel like I've got a lot of time left to get this done. I feel like a lot of people are in a position where they don't know how to make money apart from doing a job. And I've always strategized my life in reverse. I've always thought about the things I've wanted to do and then worked out how to pay for them. Consequently, I've had many jobs and I've done many things, including traveling to over 50 countries. Now, I'd like this for you guys too. And over time, we'll unpack all of the things that we've been doing. But let me just share what I've been doing this week, how I structure this. So we're coming up to the end of the quarter, which means it's time to set my quarterly goals. So I do a 12+1 method where I set goals for 12 weeks and give myself a week to assess them and then reset them for the following quarter. So I'm in that process at the moment. I've been looking at my life purpose goals, my 10-year goals, my 3-year goals, and my quarterly goals. They all break down into weekly goals as well. I've been doing that. I've been learning how to do ClickFunnels and funnel building. I've been writing video scripts and learning about batch recording. And I also spend a portion of every week learning. So at the moment, I'm studying Alex Hormozi's methods. I'm studying Ali Abdaal's methods, and I'm studying Russell Brunson's methods. There's links to all of these in the bio. So I spend a portion of every day, 1 to 3, sometimes more hours, actually studying, either learning something on Audible or watching videos or doing modules of programs that I've paid for or have signed up for free. I do a portion of each day thinking about video production. I do a portion of each day thinking about and building ClickFunnels. And I've recently written a book, a carnivore lifestyle book, and I have been spending time this week building the structure for the distribution of that book. That includes things like building review pages, collating that data, building autoresponders, and embedding the review data into my website. I also decided to get my first business bank account, and that has been an interesting process. Firstly, I thought I could just go into a bank and open an account, but that's not how it works anymore. I went into a bank and said I'd like to open an account. They told me I had to make an appointment. So I had to come back the next day, which is fine. Then I filled out all the documentation, answered all the questions, brought all the relevant information about my business with me, and then it's been sent off. Now, this was on Tuesday last week. It's now Saturday the following week, and I still have not heard whether or not I have a bank account. I find this extremely odd that this process takes so long. Anyhow, I'll keep you updated on the progress of that. And that's been my week. Comment freedom if you'd like to know more. And please subscribe and hit the bell button for notifications. Thank you. Each week I want to talk about all of the 3 areas that I feel are contributing to my epic life. And so the second one of those is my health. Now, I've been on a 2-year health journey where I've lost over 30 kilograms, about 66 pounds. And I've gone from obese to having a very healthy body for someone my age. I've got great blood pressure now, great resting heart rate, a very stable HbA1c. All of my markers look fabulous. And I attribute this to my carnivore lifestyle. On the 21st of February, 2023, I stopped eating a standard Australian diet and started eating a very high fat, high protein diet. I just want to point out that you can't build a life on a shaky foundation. If I want to create a wealth journey or a happiness journey, I feel like I have to build that upon a health journey. So everything I do is structured around health and the decisions I make in order to stay healthy or become healthier. In terms of that, I've had a very good week on Carnivore. I love to cook, and I have 7 different types of barbecues, and I've been hitting those pretty hard this week. This morning, I've got a brisket and a pulled pork that has been cooking for 14 hours. Generally speaking, I just stick to 2 meals a day. Unlike some people who eat 1 meal a day, I find I can't eat as much as I need in a day in one session. So I normally have a morning session around 10 or 11 a.m. where I would typically go for 4 eggs, bacon, or some lamb chops and eggs, or some reheated meats from the night before, brisket or pulled pork. That would be my go-to morning meal. All of these things are seasoned with salt and washed down with either water or soda water. My second meal of the day will normally be about 2 or 3 hours later, maybe 4 at the most, around 1 to 2 p.m. in the afternoon. And then on a normal day, I would probably have some lamb chops or some steak, or I'd be eating some of these leftover slow-cooked meats. I don't usually stray much from that, and this week I've not eaten anything outside of that menu. It's not that I don't eat other things. I eat seafood. I eat other meats, chicken, pork, and other game. But what's readily available and cheap and really fatty is lamb, which is my staple. And then my second favorite thing is steak. I normally eat Scotch fillet. Americans will call that ribeye. And we normally buy that in bulk here at our house, and I will carve that up myself with my butcher knives. That's what's happened this week. Coming up, there'll be some medical report. I've got a doctor's appointment next week, which I'll have to do some follow-up blood work for, and about a month later, we'll be looking to see how that showed up. In the meantime, I'll be traveling. So that kind of leads me into my third segment, my hand cycling and other adventures. I am gearing up for a 1,200 kilometer ride from Germany to Hungary, following the Danube River. That's June, July, and August. And before that, I have several things. One is I'm going away next week on a cruise, visiting the kids over East, and I'll be back Good Friday in April, at which point I will be doing some packing for a 1 to 4 week ride, depending on weather, to test my equipment before I head over to Germany. So let me tell you an interesting head cycling story. On my last big journey around Western Australia, 2,000 kilometers that I did last year, raising money for the Royal Flying Doctor Service, I discovered that there are hardships that I hadn't anticipated. This is probably the biggest solo ride that I've ever done without any level of support. And I learned some harsh lessons about preparation and equipment testing and not going down paths that you are unfamiliar with. Just stick to roads. So let me talk about that last story in particular. I was having a pretty easy day's ride, and I went off the main highway into a town on the coast of Western Australia. In that town, I saw a bike path that had a really nice sign talking about this wonderful coastal path and indicating, as far as I could tell, it was wheelchair friendly. However, I discovered very quickly within the first several hundred meters that it was not wheelchair friendly at all, and it was very steep. And on a normal day on my hand cycle under normal power and not towing 130 kilos combined weight, I would probably have swept up that hill relatively easily. However, on this particular occasion, I did not make it to the top. In fact, it was so steep and the weight of my bike and stuff was so heavy that I actually ended up sliding backwards down the hill and jackknifing my gear, and everything ended up rolling over, and I ended up on the ground with all of my gear facing away from me on the downside of a hill and trying to work out how to resolve that issue. Yeah, I'm here today, of course. I did resolve the issue. Someone came along and helped me. I dismantled some of the stuff, got it down the hill with the help of the lady who came along, and put it all back together and got on my way. But I learned a very vital lesson for people like me who are paraplegics and can't walk, and that is very mindful of where you're going before you go, and make sure before you enter a path like that you understand if there's an option to turn around or come out. In my case, there wasn't. It ended badly, but ultimately ended okay. Just a bit of dented pride and an hour and a half of my life. So yeah, lesson learned. This week I have done some packing for my journey in April when I get back from this next holiday, and I will be doing some footage for future videos on how I do my packing. But in the meantime, all the next videos will be coming from cruising and from my holiday in Brisbane. All right. I wanted to ask you some questions. I'd love to inspire some feedback and some dialogue. So here's my question today. If you could cycle anywhere in the world, where would you go? I've got Western Australia coming up. I've got the Danube River, Europe coming up, Oceans to Outback fundraiser at the end of this year, and I'm doing top to bottom of New Zealand in January, February, March, perhaps April 2026. Let me know what your exciting places that you want to travel, and if you have stories or journeys that you've done, please let me know so I can start penciling them into my itinerary as well. That'll be wonderful. Thank you. So that's it. That's freedom, fuel, and fun for this week. Your weekly BLISS download, brilliant long-term intentional success strategy. Some might say slacking strategy. My desire is that you join this channel to give yourself permission to live your life at full throttle, to have the financial freedom you deserve, to have the body you deserve and the health you deserve, and have the fun and life that you deserve, full of joy and happiness. If anything here has tickled your curiosity, resonated with you, let me know in the comments. Let's talk. This is Andreas, your long-term work avoidance planner. Please subscribe and hit the notification bell. I'll be doing these weekly from now on, and they'll drop at the same time each week which is Sunday 8:50 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time, or 20:50 in the 24-hour clock. It's wonderful being able to share this with you. I look forward to hearing about your journeys, and I hope you look forward to hearing about mine. Thank you so much.